welcome to another episode of Brown Bagging It. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We had some confusion in the ranks as far as which guest was appearing today. And we decided that since we had episode number 10 last year had a technical problem, so the entire episode just never aired, we thought we would air it today. That way no one gets left out or left behind, so to speak. So today, this episode is our first interview, I believe, with Theresa Puskar. She's a great author. And since the show itself is going to introduce her, I'm not going to do that now. But I will give you a quick little look at who she is. And we will get this moving now. Welcome to another episode of Brown Bagging It. Today we're going to have fun because we've already had the technical difficulties before we got it on. That means we're going to have a show free of problems, or so I think. Anyway, without any further ado, I want to introduce my cohort, Christine Crow.
Hi, everybody.
Okay. I got my lunch.
I don't even know what to say. Yeah.
That's like, there's always something really bizarre that seems to happen with technology. But we're on right now, so hopefully everyone can enjoy things. By the way, folks, please feel free to comment. The comment section is live, so we'd be more than happy to respond to you and answer questions that you might have and whatever else might come about. So, Christine, what a week, huh?
It has been an adventurous week. In Toastmasters, I think most districts have wrapped up their assigning their leadership nominees in this past week. So that's a big thing that's been happening. And I know that we have a lot of exciting new members that have joined here in District 30. There we go.
New members that have joined are down below.
These are all some great clubs. Northwest Suburban's a club that meets during the day. XL Toastmasters, welcome. Conpi, those are both some of our corporate clubs here in District 30.
Yeah, we have both community clubs and corporate clubs and specialty clubs. In fact, our guest today has been involved in a lot of specialty things. Before we get into all that, I have to tell you how I met Theresa. Well, no, let me change that.
Spoiler alert.
Instead of telling you how I met her, I went to one of her one-woman shows. And I have to say, it was incredibly entertaining. It was during the thick of winter. So it was one of those nights where it's like, okay, do I go or do I not go? But I went, and boy, was I thrilled to have gone. I got a chance to talk to several people from the audience who just absolutely adored what she had done. And then she was taking that show on the road down into Florida. So it was great to be able to chat with her about it a little bit in advance and before she went down. And apparently, she did incredibly well, which is expected. It was a great show.
Well, and it probably helped that the weather was warmer. It was not an incredibly cold night. It says a lot if you can have a one-woman show and be entertaining. And I'm going to share our guest today, if you haven't already figured it out, is Theresa Puskar. Theresa, you can see she's written some books there. She is the founder and CEO of Edutainment Productions. She is a member of Stagecraft, one of the, we don't really have the specialty club label anymore, but if you really want to do some great stuff and exciting stuff, Stagecraft Toastmasters.
All
And
right,
this is
there's
her
the shot
website.
of her website. And I'm going to sneak down here so you can see what she looks like before she comes on. Not that that matters, but what the heck, we're having fun.
I found that Theresa Puskar, she's like one of those people that when you put her name in Google, she's the first one that pops up. She has done so many incredible things. She's a woman with a great story in and of herself, but not only that, she has the talent, the knowing to really help the rest of us figure out how to animate our story and make a better story.
And you can tell the show's live because she has the knowing. That was an interesting choice of words. But before we get to her, there's also some people, not only the ones that join clubs, but also people that have earned awards this time around. And I think this is just a list since last week, correct?
That is just from last week. And if you notice, the IP is innovative planning, PM is presentation mastery after the names there. So that's initials for one of the 11 pathways that these Toastmasters are making progress in. And the number after it is what level, and there's 5 levels in all of the pathways. So yahoo, way to go, everybody. This is good stuff.
Let's give them
We're
an
celebrating
applause.
you. Yay!
There we go. Now, I have to say that DTM is the highest level of award you can receive. And Christine, you're a DTM,
Don't tell me.
aren't you?
Oh, don't time me. Or
Distinguished Toastmaster. Okay, you did that on purpose.
Yes. I am a DTM. I managed to slip in under the pressure of the traditional program going away was enough for me to finally get it done.
Yeah, I also did that. I finished up the classic program last summer, and I'm actually almost done with the new Pathways program for another DTM. So that should be coming around the corner.
You can tell I don't have the button, or I'd give him applause for that. That's really
Right,
impressive. Way to go, CJ. Your own applause button. What every actress or actor wants.
Yeah, that's so funny. Okay, well, you could hear her laughter.
Yeah, let Theresa out. Let her
we need to
in.
let her out. Come on in,
Let's
Theresa.
move over.
How you doing?
Hello. I'm going to bring my own applause button on every performance, and I'm bringing both of you with that kind of introduction.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
I want to make an app that is an applause app.
Right.
So you can just carry it around on your smartphone.
Well, and it should flash from time to time, too, so people think you're being photographed by the paparazzi, you know.
Oh, yes. I like it.
Well, you think when people get down in the dumps, kind of bored or isolated, they just press their applause button on their phone and they get all excited about themselves, right?
There you go. Exactly.
Sometimes it's good to get a little outside motivation or push just to know how awesome you are.
Absolutely.
Speaking of awesome, that's you, Theresa. You have an amazing story. I mean, I kind of want to just go live your life for you. Like if we could rewind it and I could go back, Theresa has traveled the world, and you had me at travel. So how did you get so lucky to travel,
Wow.
to be?
You know, at a young age, I graduated from university and I had an agent. I was an actor in Toronto, and I kind of wanted to do it alone because I found that we'd all lean on our friends and then we wouldn't really experience. So I told my agent, I'm disappearing for 3 months and I'm going to go to Europe. And I backpacked, no plans, just winged it. But the cool thing was the agent said to me, you know, Theresa, when you arrive in England, find out what some of the best theater schools are. You don't have to take it, but just, we'll put them on the resume. So I arrived in England and I said, where would I go for the best theater schools? And somebody said Regent's College. So I walked the halls of Regent's College. And this is a message for everybody. It's a bit a little off topic, but follow that gut, right? I was dating a guy I was miserable with and I thought I got to run away. So I ended up getting to Regent's College, and there was a place. I said, is there theater schools? I got directed to this place, British Academy of Dramatic Arts. I arrived in their office. I said, are you doing any acting stuff. Well, we're leaving tomorrow to go to Oxford. And they showed me their portfolio and their pamphlet, $6,000 program. Jeremy Irons, Vanessa Redgrave, Brian Cox, Alec Guinness, all these famous teachers. And I thought, well, so they said, you want to audition? I go into the courtyard, I pull out a classical Shakespeare, a contemporary monologue, and they said they'd give me a scholarship. And it was $1,500 for room and program. I think what happened, I wasn't brilliant. I think what happened is they had a couple spots. But from there, I've just traveled twice to Europe for 3 months on my own. And then my husband and I, we traveled the world together. And it's been a blast. No regrets.
Okay, whether they had an empty spot or not doesn't matter. You are talented. I've seen it. I know it.
Thank you.
They don't know. They won that day. Yeah, they won that day, not just you.
Thank you.
Everybody was a
Thank
winner.
you.
So Theresa, okay, first off, if you're listening, there's so many things that we could talk to Theresa right into next week, probably with all the things that she could talk about. But I asked her to come on today because I wanted to talk about animating story. We've been talking about this, the importance of story, using stories in your leadership. And a big part of engaging people in stories is animating stories. And this is one of the many talents of Theresa.
Well, thank you.
So
yeah. Well, go ahead, Christine. Did you have a specific question or you want me to dive in for you?
You dive in.
All right.
I can.
It takes a leap of faith, I want to say to the viewers. It takes a willingness to become children again and play. But you think of it. If I'm telling you a story and I say, I walk down the street and this grumpy old guy comes by and he starts pushing and shoving it, you're kind of, yeah. If you're going, I walk down the street, there's this guy. What are you doing in my way, buddy? Get out of my... You're taking up too much space on the sidewalk. I could go on with that, but it is much more engaging when you bring the speech into the present and you build character. But in order to do with that, you need to play. And we do this in some of the workshops I do and some of the coaching, but it's basically give yourself permission to become a child again. And another thing is props. Okay, I'm going to be starting a TV show soon. And so I thought, and I've done, like my one woman show, I did 14 different characters and I wore no costumes. All I did was basically change my body, the way I shaped my body, changed my voice, changed the heart feeling. But for example, we got here. So here's one of my masks. So this guy, let's just say he's a rip-roaring cowboy. Wait a second here. We got my hat here. Right? So we got a cowboy out. He doesn't take any sleep from anybody, right? So give yourself permission to play. Another one, let me just see here. Where's the other one? Oh, this one. She's fun. She reminds me a little bit, CJ, of Cinderella, little French kitten in my show. She was a French little sexy girl. So here we have Cinderella. So, and then you just change your image, you change your body language. You have fun, no? N'est-ce pas? So
yeah, it's like the easiest way to plump your lips too.
It is.
No surgery required.
No.
So I think this is one of these things that Christine has to demonstrate. So grab something in your room, Christine, and suddenly turn into a character based on whatever that is.
Well, let me play, or even you know what, Christine, we could play something. Say, Christine, you have a nose that never stops running. You're a character that's allergic to everything, and that your nose is constantly itchy. And then how does your body feel with that? And how might you speak?
I'm trying to get a stuffed nose right now to remember how that might feel.
Exactly. But you see now, if Christine was telling a story in her speeches and she was falling into that character, it's so engaging and the audience is with you. And yes, I've had acting training, but you don't necessarily have to train. You just have to be willing to take that plunge. And, if we had a lot of time, I would have you guys turn off your cameras if you wanted to and be alone. But give yourself permission Go grab a hat, a pair of glasses. You know, here we have, okay, so this one's all about love. I'm looking for love. I haven't had love in a while, right? So whatever you can do just to play, or you focus on a part of your body. So say you've got an extended belly, and the belly leads your walk. So as you're walking, you're all about the belly, right? So it's about playing with various aspects physically, with voices, right? High pitched, really annoying, or really low, like don't mess with me, right? So it's a play. It's about play.
I can do a high pitched voice. How's this
Okay.
going?
I think something that keeps us from jumping into that, like really embracing a character, I know that keeps me, is the idea that I'm going to miss the mark or I'm going to fail so miserably. And what's your advice when you do? I mean, because you do miss the mark. I've seen it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
What do you do when you miss the mark?
Well, I have two quick stories about that. One, I was once in a show and I lost my lines. And I sat there on the stage in silence for several seconds going, oh my God, what's my line? What's my line? What's my line? At the end of the show, somebody came to me and they actually said, oh my God, Theresa, that moment, that silent moment you had was so powerful. I was so moved. You were moved and I was just terrified. But here's the deal. If you're on stage, guys, and you are confident, they love you more. If I flub up now and I get embarrassed and I shrink and you guys all go, oh my, you start getting uncomfortable with me. If I go, oh my God, that's a mess. I totally screwed up, guys. Give me a second here. You love me more. In fact, I had a friend, Michael Lamport, who was an actor in Toronto. He was working with Kim Cattrall on a British farce before she was in Sex and the City. And I went to see him perform. At one point in the show, he totally breaks character. He spews coffee across the stage out of his mouth and starts laughing hysterically. That moment made the show. I went to see Michael a month later. He did the same thing. It was a plotted error because that endeared us to him and the audience loved it. So if you can get confident to the fact that even if you flub up, the bottom line is this: your audience loves you. You as an audience member love your speaker. Nobody's looking to see anybody make a mistake. And so point. If you know that and your connection is all about how do I affect them? How do I move them or touch their hearts? You get out of yourself and your ego and, oh no, I said this or I shouldn't have that. And it's about how can I affect you and how can we have a bit of fun?
I think that's a really good point. You know, what I was going to jump in with is the fact that your audience is cheering you on because they want you to succeed. Because frankly, if you don't, they're going to feel really awkward by being there.
Yes.
So they're cheering you on the whole time. Go ahead, Christine.
Well, I was going to say pretty much the same thing. Like if we embrace our vulnerability, if that's the confidence, embracing our vulnerability. And whenever I see somebody being vulnerable, I don't even mean it. I start to lean in. It's like I'm rooting for them. I don't even know I'm rooting for them. So if they embrace it and they're like, hey, I'm struggling here, then I'm all on their side. I'm totally listening. So I really love that. Just really embrace the mistakes that happened and kind of let them all hang out there. Because the truth is we really don't want any perfect people.
No, and the irony is, as an actor, we were all, when I started at IBM in marketing when I first graduated from college. And in IBM, you know, everybody plays the game. And then I was an actor on the side. Every actor goes to therapy. Every actor deals with their emotions. If you're saying to me, you want me to be sad for a role or angry, and I can't feel it or I can't go there, I'm mucked up. So as an actor, we are trained to feel into things, to expose things. I remember somebody once saying to me, well, you're an actor, you lie. And I went, oh no. If I'm a good actor, you're getting from my heart whatever I integrate into the character. So the more you can explore and expose your deepest, the closer your audience feels to you and they fall in love with you. So, but it does take a leap of faith. And like I say, do so with courage and gusto. I just cried. I'm a mess, guys. What can I say? They love you.
Sorry, I had to do it one more time.
Thank you, CJ. Anytime.
You're giving me confidence as a parent too, because I always tell my kids, I'm like, when things go wrong, I'm helping you to have something to tell your therapist later in life. So you're welcome.
I love it.
I'm here for you. And now I just realized I'm preparing them for this stage. They're going to love me even more.
They're going to be better performers. Absolutely. Christine, I love it.
Again, yeah, you guys are all welcome. You're welcome.
And again, be willing to be the child. I had a program before the quarantine, Power Princesses and Superheroes, because I've worked with emotional intelligence in kids. And I have my costumes, and I get in there with the kids, and I play with them. But it was a place where I was safe to do that. I had permission. And in a way, I was exploring and allowing myself the childhood that I never quite had when I was a kid, because I was such a perfectionist. So allowing ourselves to feel and express fully, whether we're on stage or not, gives our children permission to do the same. We're modeling for them. And it's really important, because bottom line is, in my philosophy, a lot of our struggles, a lot of the negativity, a lot of physical sickness is repressed emotions. So I chose the perfect career as an actor, because I get to blah all over the place and get applauded sometimes for it.
There you go. Hey, by the way, we do need to take a
So there
quick
should
little
be like,
break for our sponsor here.
gotta take a break.
The Brown
You
Bragging
gotta hear our
Show
sponsor.
is sponsored by Toastmasters International. All right, that's enough.
Well, okay, so I'm waiting for the adult version of Power Princesses and Superhero. I'll sign up.
Getting into those costumes, I tell you, especially quarantine, 20 pounds later, I don't know if I could.
So what about not being over the top? I mean, I've seen that too, is when you're animating a story, how do you avoid going over the top? There's so many characters, there's so much, it's almost confusing what your message is.
Very good point. I think you have to be selective. I also think, for example, when you're playing a drunk, you never, ever try and play falling all over the place. Because when somebody's drunk, they're actually trying to look sober. So when you're performing as a drunk, you'll actually try and slow down and actually be less intrusive with your character. The same goes for other things. When you've got a crying scene, you actually try and pull back on the tears, and your audience feels that internal struggle, which makes them more emotional. So it's actually pulling back. And if you're going to go big, which I confess I do a lot of the times, you have to go big and delight in your going big. I remember doing street theater in my early 20s, and we had horrible, campy, awful jokes, and we had to pull people from the audience to play different characters. And I remember in rehearsal doing them, and the director goes, no, because I'd roll my eyes as I did the joke. And the director said, no, Theresa, you have to fully embrace the joke as if it's the best thing since sliced bread. So when you start giggling, if it's a really bad joke or you overdo it, but you're loving the overdoing, the audience will kind of get the energy of your enthusiasm. It's a lot more forgivable, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I just heard Rich Mulholland, who's another public speaker, make that comment that the audience cannot enjoy your presentation more than you as a presenter enjoy giving it. So if you got to really lean in, I guess, with those jokes. And I'm having fun, people. Are you enjoying yourself?
Exactly. And a big one I teach my students is, before you go on stage, focus and meditate on, how may I serve the audience? It's not about me. It's not about the way I look. It's not about what I do. It's not about being good enough. If all you put your intentions on, I want to serve those people, and if I can touch one heart or inspire one person, I've done my job. It pulls you out of your ego and insecurities into a higher place.
Wow, that's awesome. And when you're animating these stories, do you think it's more important to, at the end of the story, you're coming to the end, does it matter if you like kind of dip down like at the end of a sentence, or should you have an up? Should it be a big uproarious animation thing, or should you be coming more into yourself, or is there no rule of thumb?
Well, it's something that I've worked, all these years of acting training, I guess I kind of worked through that. But to honor CJ, my one woman show I've been doing a couple years, when he saw it, And there's shifts that have been made in my life prior and before. And going into the show, I go right into singing a lullaby, a baby crying, and a very sensitive, intense moment. And one of brilliant CJ's advice givings as a director was like, Theresa, why not? Because he said the audience does not know quite how to respond, because I thought some of the laughs are a little tentative. But in my show, I did extreme tears to extreme joy. And so CJ's, and this is another thing, if you got somebody good coaching you or directing you, and CJ says, Theresa, warm the audience up in the beginning. Tell them this is what you're going to do. And so at the beginning of the shows thereafter, I'd say, I would want to welcome you to join me on my expression. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to cry in this show. And so that, and then in the end, I actually put something at the end about this is what's happened since, and brought myself back into the audience off of the stage. And again, kind of conversationally integrating with them. So I think, CJ, the show was much, much better after he gave that advice. So again, I think connecting with the audience, and I think sometimes
that sounds like it would be a workout to be like this, a
little quieter. Yeah.
But in a good way. I mean, I've heard that also said about when we're speaking and presenting, the more of emotion changes that you can create for the audience, the better that you can get them to engage with you.
Yes. And there's, you think of a really good movie that my favorite movies are those that have extreme trauma, extreme drama. I'm just horrified. And then they make me laugh like crazy. So and then again, it might be personal taste, but for me, when it's same with the characterization. When you see a really bad actor in a film, you'll know, because if they have a crying scene, it'll be a long shot and you'll see this. When you have a really good actor, the camera goes in really, really, really close. So allowing yourself to fully invest in the character, and it's not outside of yourself. So if I'm playing my grandmother, I'm finding the part of Theresa that's the old grandmother. So it's about investing and committing to the role fully. And I kind of went off on a tangent there, but anyway, hopefully that's useful.
Not a
See,
problem.
I made a mistake. Oops. Forgive me.
You know what? we appreciate you because you're giving us some insights today that most of us haven't had. And the fact is, especially with contest season, up and running, a lot of people try to portray their characters a little bit instead of just saying so-and-so said such and such to whoever. They like to play it out just a little bit. And there's this tentativeness about them where they're not quite sure if they should commit or not. But whenever the person commits, it's easy for the audience to buy into it. And if they don't quite commit, we're like, what are they trying to do? Because we're not sure because they're not sure.
Exactly. Well said, CJ. Yeah, well said.
I'm kind of packing all. There's been so much here about leaning into your character and letting yourself be vulnerable. This is really, really rich stuff. What about when you're, let's say, for contest speeches and stuff like that? I'm kind of losing my words. Sorry. It's live.
It's okay. It's live. They're loving you because you're showing your humanity.
Very human, very, very human. So when you're animating, I've asked, going too much, and we've talked about not going enough. How do you practice? How do you get better at it? I mean, is it worth it to record yourself, or are we too harsh of judges on ourselves? Can you actually see yourself and respond to it?
That's a great question, Christine. If you're going to record okay, first of all, I tell my acting students and my stage presentation students, when you record yourself or you see yourself on camera, you will hate it. You'll be going, I didn't know I talked like this, and really critical of yourself. If you watch yourself often enough, you'll get over your idiosyncrasies and start to be able to relate to and give your own self-criticism and feedback on your performance. I suggest to people, for me as an actress, when I've gotten roles, I literally have to memorize it, know it upside down, know every single line, so that when it comes to performing, It's like that's so second nature. I don't have, my brain doesn't have to go to, oh, what's my next line? It's so second nature that I can then get caught up in the emotions of my character in the moment. And that's when you see theater that's very exciting. It's when it's so alive. I've had situations. I remember doing Desire on the Under the Elms years ago, and I lost myself in the character. We were so in the moment, the fellow actor and I, that we literally, it was a blur. It was a blur. But in order to experience that, I had to practice a lot. And then you get to the point where improvisation's awesome. If you ever go to Second City and take stand up or improv, and learning, just you're building your confidence in yourself. So you're knowing that in time, I'm to the point where I know that I might muck up, but basically I'm comfortable enough that even if I muck up, I'll be okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so as I'm hearing you talking here, I'm starting to draw this line between acting and storytelling. You're an actress, and so it's very natural for you to bring acting forward. I'm somebody who's giving speeches, and I generally am bringing stories. Should there be a line between there? Where should be the line? If you're in a speech, it doesn't always make sense to be acting, or does it? Did I come
Well,
through?
in a lot of the speeches I've seen, when people put themselves into a bit of characterization, even just a little, but even using the body. I have a friend, Megan Wells, she's a brilliant storyteller. And the other day I was watching her, and it was a Zoom call, and she was doing things with their hands and just expressing things in a way that was so beyond just standing there and speaking and doing narrative. And again, she was committed to it. So when she said there was this bird, and she kind of focused on that, I believed I was there with her. And to me, the story was so rich and so beautiful because she incorporated that. But a word of caution, Christine, you've got to practice it. And just like CJ said, you got to be comfortable doing it. But what do I want to encourage people is step out of your comfort zone. Stagecraft, we have a different kind of a program where we workshop speeches, so that we have a lot of speech contestants come, and as opposed to giving feedback, goodbye, you're out the door, we workshop with them. So we give them feedback, and then it's like, get on the stage again and do it right away and play with it and have fun with it. So encouraging that, I encourage the speakers that are watching to take a risk, to play. And it can be subtle, it can be physicalization. So you could say, I've got this old grandmother and she's really crotchety, and if you're not comfortable going fully into the character, just kind of physicalize her a little bit, and this grandmother. So again, at least you're being a little bit more animated, energizing, and engaging beyond just the words.
And as you're describing your friend, it made me think of Amanda Gowen with her hand gestures in the poetry that she was reading. Mm-hmm. So just, you're saying, lean into it, make a picture, really imagine yourself in the picture. So it seems about not just visualizing it yourself, but giving cues to the audience to help them visualize as well. And you talked about using props, using hands, and you've been using your voice. Is there any other tools?
Well, and like you said, I say visualizing, you have to be invested in it, but sometimes it's punctuating. Like when I did my one-woman show, I had 14 characters, and I would take a split second intuitively to just shift from one character to another character so that the audience would go with me. Or you put on the glasses, it's like, moment, give them a second, then you go into it. So you punctuate the shifts, and you do that timing-wise, but I don't know how much I would just really encourage the viewers to play, because that brings the speech. We've watched so many narrative speeches, and they're wonderful, and they're all very nicely packaged in this box.
I wonder if there's
I wonder if there's a good game for playing that you would suggest. Do you have any ideas easily of a game that would be easy for people to play or get into? Just charades, maybe?
Jeez, yeah, I'm thinking of all my old theater games when I was an instructor. Okay, I'm just coming out of the top of my head. So you got a hat, and you've got characters that you put on a piece of paper, and everybody pulls a character. So it's like your grandmother, the postman, Santa Claus, and maybe just have people literally pull out of a hat a character, and then they're given 2 minutes to play with that character, and then maybe engage with another crazy character. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that. Here in Zoom, the Zoom host could just change their names to be the different character, and you'd be like looking, and you'd be like, oh my.
Okay, is that a hint? Let's see here. I'll be Christine. You be CJ, and you're Theresa.
Oh,
so I'm
I got the hard one.
That's right.
Well, I think we should organize this conversation here, and I think that we should talk about her books next.
Now we have a little bit of technical difficulty, but
and I don't want to be goofy.
Do tell us about your books, Theresa, because you've actually written in different areas too.
I have. I've written over 50 study guides and books. I used to be a producer at Nightingale Conant Publishing, and I love pulling people's message from them. But I also wrote study guides for classics like Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. But my 2 latest books with G&D Media, the first is called 8 Ways to Declutter Your Brain. So it's about trying to get out of this, because our brain plays games with us. And I have 25 experiential exercises and some questionnaires and stuff in there. The second one is called The Good Morning Mind, 9 Essential Habits for the Workplace. And it's about mindfulness, integrity, and all of that in the workplace. In fact, the second book, I recruited some Toastmasters to do some acting with me through the audio version of the book. Marty and a couple of them came down. And because the book is structured about conversations and communication, one from a place of ego and anger and fear reactivity, and then we redid this scene from a place of open heart and love, and then a third redo is a place of even higher intention. So it's about how to communicate. We had a lot of fun in studio playing with that.
That's great.
Yeah, I was getting them confused. So it's the Good Morning one that's in the audio form.
They're both audio and they're book form. Mm-hmm. So they're hard copy and audio. Yeah, I've been working with this publishing company for years, and they've been wonderful. So they've given me, I wrote study guides for so many years, and then one year I said, guys, I need more work. And they went, why don't you pitch your own books? And I'm like, okay. So I ended up doing 2 last year during the quarantine, which was not fun because we had to cancel all of the speaking engagements and the book signing. So it's been a challenge. It's been an opportunity. So, yeah.
How many books have you worked on total?
I haven't counted. When I was at Nightingale Conant, before I became a producer, I wrote all the study guides to all the audiobooks for them. G&D, I think I've done 20 books with them, and my children's books. I wrote 7 children's books on emotional intelligence. And with G&D, I've written my 2 books and then 11 study guides as well. Wow,
that's a lot of writing.
You've been busy.
I've been busy.
Very busy.
Wow. Well, I know that it's been a wonderful time having you on this show. Our time is kind of running to an end already, so there's not much more we can do, but maybe we can figure out a future calendar date and have you back again.
That would be fun. And it's wonderful working with both of you. It's delightful that you have 2 hosts to work with. That's a lot of fun. So kudos to you. This has been great.
It's been a challenge from a technical standpoint because sometimes there's a delay. I found out that the modem I had today every now and again would add 18 milliseconds of delay just arbitrarily. And if that was happening on someone else's modem, and we have multiple modems going back and forth here to get 3 live pictures on the same output, you can have as much as a 7-second delay. So by the time I'm done saying something, maybe Christine has to count for 4 or 5 before I finish talking when I've already stopped.
Wow. Well, what's great about this is when we did a bit of testing yesterday, CJ, I'm vain, so I don't wear my glasses. But the good thing was, because I didn't have, you guys were all a blur. So I thought if there's any audio that's not matching video, that's okay. I can't see it anyway.
No wonder why you were so good at it. Your eyes weren't tricking you.
No.
Oh, that's one way to take care of it. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, Theresa. Until next time, let's give you one
Thank
last
you.
applause.
It's been a joy. Thank you, guys. Have a good rest of the
Thank
day.
you.
Bye bye.
Thanks, Teresa.
Bye-bye.
Wow, that was a
Time
fun
goes by
time.
too fast with her. Yes, time
Yeah.
goes by too fast.
It just went. Phew. I before we go, I just want to point out that we do have an update on our website. You notice that it keeps on changing from time to time. This is at d30toastmasters.org.
Which is
And
why you should visit early and often, right?
that's right, because it keeps on changing. But one of the things here is that you see the fourth button in from the left, 3 in from the right is the contest updates. So with the competition season going on right now, if you just click on that, you'll get the latest information. The passport to success button on the far right on the top, that is kind of the latest, greatest information as far as what's happening with the big conference on May 15th and 16th. You'll need to mark your calendar for that because you will definitely want to participate. There are 4 different kinds of contests at the competition. There's keynote speakers. There's breakout sessions with instructors. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal. And then, of course, you can see the picture of Christine there with brown bagging it. We actually have a section that we're still trying to figure out how to totally update, but we're going to create an area where not only can you learn a little bit about the show, but you'll be able to eventually click on these buttons and watch whichever show you might have missed. So that's what we're trying to do for you to make things. Whoops. What happened?
Today's show is a definite don't miss. Theresa Puskar was really a wonderful guest. I hope that we do get to have her back.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely wonderful. Well, Christine, any last second things you'd like to share?
Only that we will be back next Thursday with another exciting guest.
So invite a friend and have a great weekend. Well, that happens to be our playback of that season 1, episode 10 that never aired. So you could see it had lots of technical problems. We have moved much further forward since then. Anyway, that's all we have for today. So I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.